Welcome to the next video in the formulize tutorial series. In this video we will be looking at changing columns and sorting information so you can manipulate what you're seeing in lists of entries like this one. So, well, by default there's 3 columns here that we're seeing, and you can always change the columns that you're looking at by using the Change Columns button. Now the columns that are available will be every question that's in the form, plus there's some metadata columns, just general sort of bookkeeping information that we keep about each entry, the user who made it, user who last changed it, the creation date, the modification date, and the email address of the creator. So for example, let's maybe add in user who made it and the creation date. Click Change Columns, and the page will reload with that information showing. It's that easy, so to speak. Now, you may wonder, well, how are the defaults chosen? We only had 3 questions in this form to begin with, and the answer to that is it's part of the form settings, what the defaults are. Now, we can take a look at that if we log out, because if you're following along step by step here, you're logged in as a Ranger user right now. It doesn't have administrative rights on the form, but if we log in as an administrator, then we can look at that particular setting. So if we log in, click Admin, open up the application, configure the form, then on the Settings tab we have the choice of columns, and you'll see actually none are selected. What happens when none are selected on this list is formulize will take a stab at picking either some required fields or just the first 3 fields in the form or something that it thinks you're going to want to see. But it's probably not going to pick the right things because there's really not much for it to go on. So it's certainly recommended that you pick some defaults here, or you use some of the more advanced screen options for controlling what the default columns are that people see when the screen first loads. So anyway, we can maybe say we want to pick the user who made it and the 3 questions that we have right now. Maybe those are the important things to help us identify each entry and tell them apart. So if we pick those and click Save, then what we can do is we can go back to view the form, and now when we view it, there it shows us our 3 questions plus the user who made it. Those are now the defaults. So those are the key things to know about how the columns are displayed, that there are some defaults, but you can always change what you're seeing with the view columns. Now, the only columns that are going to show up for people are, of course, ones that are part of the ones that represent elements or questions in the form that the user has permission to see. If you remember from previous steps we've gone through, there are many settings to control which columns are displayed to which users, and that's certainly respected in terms of what columns people can see as well. As far as sorting the information, that's pretty straightforward. It works just by clicking the heading. So for dates, it's going to sort based on earliest to latest date. For numbers, the same thing, although as long as the number is stored in the database as a number, that should happen automatically, but there is settings on the Advanced tab for each element that lets you specifically control whether it's storing the data as a number or not. There's more information about that in the video about just creating forms and elements. Now for text, it's going to go alphabetically, so E before M or M before E. Now, an important thing to point out as we start making changes here is that the changes are alphabetic. The sorting is alphabetic. The changes are additive. So if we have that sort in effect, and now we decide, we're going to change the columns, let's maybe turn off the user who created it. We want to see I don't know, we want to see just the time of day and what type of animal it was. Fine. So let's do that. Get rid of those two columns. Click Change. And it reloads, but our sorting option here is still in effect. Basically everything you do in formulize is additive. Everything you do in the list of entries is additive, and things are just going to keep updating until you cancel them. So until you pick a new sorting option, until you turn on or off columns, column will remain present until you get rid of it. If you want to drop back to, what would this be just when I first came to my starting view, you can always click reset the view, and there you go. There's more things that we can look at in terms of searching for entries, also in terms of scoping, calculations, many other things that are covered in future videos.